Welcome back to the land of K's, P's, flops, frames, and HDR. Welcome to PSVG Game Tech. It is I, the self-appointed tech guru of PSVG Dat Ninja Dev, and with me as usual is the master of the deal, the eater of hype, Mr. Donnie Reese. How are you this fine Halloween morning?
Halloween, baby. I'm excited. I got a lot of things to do today. I did a lot of things yesterday. I'm sore. That's how I am doing this morning. I woke up and tried to move and was like, oh no. A tree had fallen and crashed through my kids' trampoline. The tree was so heavy that it knocked the base of the trampoline a good 8 inches into the ground. It just hammered the trampoline down in there, and kind of smashed half of it was just bent. So yesterday I was out there with the saw and chainsaw and axe, just chopping off this tree into little bitty pieces and then carrying it and throwing it in the woods, and then doing the same thing with the trampoline, breaking it down, taking it to the dump. It was a project.
Tell me you were wearing a Jason hockey mask, because that would just be perfectly on brand.
I don't have a Jason hockey mask.
Oh, that would have been so perfect.
It would have been good. But, I'm paying for it now.
I can imagine. Also joining us is the JRPG master, the true playing Mr. Nintendo, or playing Nintendo. Jeez, I can't even talk today. Mr. Balloon Explosion himself. How are you, Garrett?
I'm doing good. I think I need a second cup of coffee. I don't know. Waking up these days, it's been rough.
I have coffee on the way. We ordered Starbucks.
Oh, nice. Yeah, is it delivery and everything?
Fancy.
Yeah.
I should probably do that right now.
You should. Coffee is great. It gets the morning going. I mean, the caffeine may not do anything for you, but mentally, at least you'll know you've had your coffee, and maybe it'll help you.
I'm excited. I bought a home projector. I have a movie projector and a giant screen, and we're going to be setting it up today in the driveway. So we'll be playing old horror movies as people come by and get their trick-or-treat candy.
Nice. Are people just going to stare at that screen and be socially not distant?
I mean, I thought about putting out some chairs, so if people just want to kind of hang out. We are doing a little table, and we are putting out individually wrapped little goodie bags of candy that we made a month ago, so people can kind of just grab a bag, and we'll just kind of replenish as people come and go.
Cool. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, we're doing a little something similar. We're gonna have, for just the neighborhood kids, we're gonna have 2 little 6-foot tables set up or whatnot with some crafts, some games or whatnot, and then I'm also toying with the idea of using a projector and throwing something up, but it won't be old movies. It'll be something like Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice is a good idea. Yeah, I was gonna play, I wanted it to be cool, but obviously I can't throw Child's Play or Freddy Krueger up on the screen. Scare the hell out of
you can.
I mean, you can, but I don't think many people would appreciate it. So we're gonna roll with some old monster flicks. We're gonna do The Bride of Frankenstein, maybe The Birds, stuff like that.
Cool.
All the stuff that people can be like, what is this?
Vertigo.
You might start something. It's funny, me and my wife, we've been watching a lot of the old stuff. We watched Psycho, we watched Vertigo, The Birds. She loves a lot of the older movies, so we've been watching a lot of that, just to get the Halloween feel. And then of course all the Treehouse of Horror from The Simpsons, because
those are great.
It's comfort food. So
sorry guys, I have zero plans for Halloween this time around. I'm in an apartment building. No one comes to my door and asks for candy, which is actually probably good. But I am in a home-ish neighborhood, so I'm sure there'll be kids walking around. I'll just stay inside, play some scary video games or something like that.
Trust me, if I didn't have kids or my wife, I would be doing absolutely nothing for Halloween as well.
Does not compute. This is my favorite holiday of the year. I live for this day.
It's the only holiday of the year for you.
That's basically it. This is breaking my heart, both of you.
I'm sorry.
As Chucky sits in the background staring at us menacingly.
I'm gonna put him outside too.
I think he's gonna strangle me overnight.
I got all my graves out there. It's all lit up.
Oh, so you found them all? Because I figured the wind probably took them places.
They did, but yeah, they didn't go too far.
Well, that's good.
All right. Now that the Halloween talk is over, sorry, Daddy. Let's get into what's new. Anybody get anything cool? Anything coming?
I got an external SSD for my Xbox that's coming.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm really, really excited about it. It's a SATA drive, so it's not going to run the new games off of it. This is the exact SATA drive and cable setup that Digital Foundry recommended in their little video, and basically the performance was like, I want to say it was a second off of internal in terms of load times across the board. So I got a 2 terabyte one that I negotiated on eBay for $150. So
that's that's
a really good deal.
Yeah, I think I did about $60 better than the going rate, and I kept waffling between 1 and 2 terabytes because I'm just gonna play old stuff off of it, but I really wanted 2 terabytes. So once I found a deal, and I had to wait a little bit because the seller was out of town, so it took a few weeks. But it came in, and I've got my cable, and my Series X and S will be on the way soon, within 10 days from now. And I still have my 8 terabyte hard disk drive. So as soon as I get them, I will plug them in, and I'll start the transferring process of moving stuff over, and I'll be playing all of my back and pat stuff from there, which will free up my internal. Like I looked at it as putting up an investment into my system. It'll free up my internal and my expansion card to only run the new games from. So without sacrificing anything. And I have seen load times, GTA, for example. I've seen a video of GTA running on Series X, and it is quite impressive to watch somebody boot that game from a cold boot and be in the game playing it in like 38 seconds.
Welcome to PC gaming.
Because it takes like 3 minutes to get into GTA on an Xbox One. It takes forever.
It is so dumb how long it takes on console. Like, it is just, it's terrible.
You see how fast PlayStation 5 got into Spider-Man?
I did. There was one screen that you barely even saw the logo.
You couldn't even read it. Yeah,
for a hot second.
Flash.
Like, whoa.
Don't you have the option now of putting in like the subway loading screens or whatever? Like you have the option to put the Spider-Man loading, whatever. And it's like, you don't need this anymore.
I don't even need the startup menu. Just go right into the game. Stop.
Yeah, right.
I press that button. I'm in Spider-Man. Like that would be amazing.
That's practically how fast it was. It was ridiculous.
It really was. Yeah, like it took maybe 10 seconds to get to the start menu, and then once you're in the start menu, maybe 5 seconds to get into the game. From a cold,
I don't even think it took 5 seconds
from a cold start, like from a brand, like from a hot press cold start. You're in that game in seconds. It was very impressive.
Console gamers, welcome to PC gaming. This is what we have.
What is this thing you're talking about?
It's the thing you're using right now to put this show out.
And pretty much.
This is my podcast machine. Nobody games on this.
It's that hard drive that you bought. That's actually a PC hard drive. It's like a PC component.
Came out 2010, the SSD.
Yeah, the one that I've had in my PC for a while now. It's literally the exact same hard drive.
It's gross.
So question, was that hard drive that you bought, was it used?
No, brand new.
Okay.
That's
so
nice.
I was say SSDs do have a shelf life, so
yeah,
they do degrade.
I was stunned, shocked even at how light and like not flimsy, but it's like incredibly. It feels hollow. It's like it's plastic, and there just feels like there's nothing in it, and it's so thin and small. I was like, "What the hell is this? This is what is this?"
Yeah. I have you seen an NVMe SSD like for a PC?
I asked him what he told me.
I have. I've seen the sticks, but that's a stick. That's an internal. It's a completely different thing.
Not really. It's very similar.
You just need a connection because it has its own heatsink. Like you just need a.
So Digital Foundry included one of those in their test as well. They did the test with an external SSD, like an off-the-shelf external SSD through USB. They did one of those, one of the M2s with a case with a connector cable. They did the SATA. The SATA was on par with the M2 and better in most situations by slight margin, but better. and they referenced that they thought it was because of the cable.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, and
You lose all the NVMe speed by putting it in that case and making it USB.
there you go.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they said. So they were like, why encourage you to buy this if you're just the other one is half the price and you'll get the better performance. So that's why I went with the SATA.
Yeah, if you were to open up that SATA drive, it would look strikingly similar to an M2. Like it's just a flash drive. It's just really a little flash memory.
Really impressive.
And there's a slide we saw in the PS5 open teardown video. The M.2 slot is like right there, ready to go. So
I can't wait to get my hands on one and take it apart.
The PlayStation
I'm taking
you're gonna vacuum it out?
Yeah. Have you heard a PlayStation? Do you know how terrified I am of it sounding like a jet engine? I'm absolutely going to pull those side plates off and vacuum it out from time to time.
How are the folks with the PS5? Have they talked about how it sounds yet?
They haven't been able to. Embargo was literally just the unboxing and talking about Astro's Playground and the controller. That's all they've been able to say. That's all we've been able to see. The embargo, the next phase of it should lift, I believe, this Friday. So hopefully we'll see some more.
The Xbox embargo is the 5th.
Okay, makes sense. I don't care. I just want the damn console. I don't even need to see anything else. I just want it in my hands. I want to play with it. I want to play games.
Well, I was going to
capture some stuff.
I think we're going to reference this on Empire, but to burn one a little earlier, I think it's interesting because Xbox is like they've said everything. I feel like we know every single thing about the console. We don't know really a whole lot about the PlayStation 5.
No, we do not. I have said that many times. It's incredible how little we actually know about what this console is, what it does. I imagine we'll find out a great deal more Friday, and then a great deal more like right before launch. But there's just so much we don't know. All we know is that it's hella fast. It's got Spider-Man. And you can put an M2 stick in it if you take off a faceplate. That's
the
like
controller.
Really
the controller is getting just rave reviews. Everybody loves the new controller.
Yeah, everyone is having great impressions of that thing.
I think
I'm
Xbox,
to play with it.
Knowing where they were in the market leading into this, they couldn't risk that same chance. Like they needed to be like just completely open and honest and get as much information and knowledge out there as possible. Versus Sony, who could just basically not say anything to anybody and still sell millions.
Oh, there's incredible demand with the PS5.
Right. Like they could have not sent a single box out. They could have just been like, buy it and you'll find out, and it would have still flew off the shelves.
Mm-hmm. I was surprised that they actually sent them out as early as they did, because with the PS4, most like of the influencers, journalists, they didn't get it to like maybe the week, maybe a couple of days before launch, where this time they actually had them a couple weeks in advance, which is surprising. So maybe Sony realized it needed to do and say something, because Xbox has basically laid all their cards on the table, with counters to all of PlayStation's punches. So hopefully we actually get to see and hear some stuff about, more in depth, like what are the cards? Is there some kind of quick resume? Like just give me some more info on it. But I'm excited.
I think between the SSD speed, as we've seen on display, leaked, and then the save states, these activity cards that they have, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. It's like bookmarks, I guess. I think between those two, I think it makes a case as to why they didn't dedicate space to do quick resume.
Yeah. Because
it's really mimicking a similar thing, even if they're not the same thing, but you're not giving up any of that precious SSD space, because we think it's taking quite a bit of the reservation on Xbox to do that.
Yeah. And with as small as the PlayStation's hard drive is, I don't want to reserve any space for no damn quick resume, especially if the games boot up as fast as they do. Like, if they boot up as fast as that Spider-Man does, like all of them, then I don't really need a quick resume, because it's like 7 seconds to get into a game. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's tomatoes at this point.
So what's the advantage of quick resume again? Is it just like having multiple games on?
Quick resume, so the difference between the two. So for listeners, if you're wondering what the difference between the two is, so far we don't think the PlayStation 5 has quick resume in the same way that Xbox does. So in Xbox, you can juggle up to 6. I've seen as many as 10, but I think on new next-gen games, I think the number is 4. You can have 4 suspended games at any time, and when you click into them, you will get a little 5-6 second load screen, and then it will actually drop you right where you left off. So you don't see the start screen, you don't see the publisher screen, you don't see any of the titles. You're literally just right back into the game. So if I was playing golf, for example, if I'm playing PGA Tour golf, if I suspend it and I'm on the 15th hole and I go play something else, when I come back, I just pick right back up where I left off on the 15th hole and I keep playing.
Yeah.
On the PlayStation side, you're starting a brand new game, so you're still going to see that title screen and stuff. So like with the Miles Morales, there was maybe 5 seconds of getting to the actual start screen of Miles Morales, and then there was maybe 4 or 5 seconds of from that menu into the game you were playing. So
it was like 2 seconds. He pressed X and it was like, "Boop, you're here." And right now, PlayStation has the resume feature. So like, if I'm playing a game and I put it in suspend mode and then I bring it back up, I'm right back where I left off. So basically, Xbox is doing that, but across multiple games.
And that's what Switch does. Like Switch, you can just bounce out of the game and you can always come back to it. And I think that's been the best way that I've explained it to other people, is that with the Xbox, you could do that for 4, 5, 6 games at all times. So you could always kind of have some games running.
What happens if you go past that limit?
Then I imagine there's a queue that you'll reach a limit. So if you just open up another one, it'll just drop off one. It'll drop off your oldest one, I would imagine. It's all based on storage. So I've seen people juggle as many as 10 backwards compatible titles, but that number goes down the more modern that you go through. So
I wouldn't test the limit of those games. I didn't want like one of those games to just
Xbox has said 4. So I think with like new games, 4. You can juggle up as many as 4 games at one time. And then if you cold boot a game, like a cold boot test, and this is going to be interesting when both consoles are out and they're fully unembargoed. We're going to have all kinds of these damn like comparisons.
For real.
Right. A cold boot is going to be significantly slower than PlayStation. Maybe double, maybe more than double, I would imagine, depending on the game, of course. I think like GTA 5, like whenever they release a next gen enhanced part of the game, could probably be, twice as slow to get into than the PlayStation.
Which is crazy because it's still going to be like 100 times faster than what we have now.
Which is exactly because, and that's what I was saying. We're going to make all these like YouTube videos with all these like headlines and clickbait thumbnails. And it's like the ultimate takeaway is that it's going to be 70% faster than what we've had for the last 8 years across the board. Every console is just 70% faster. And then like Sony's is just their SSD is really fast. So they have like these activities and like these cold start times that are super fast. And then Xbox is kind of masking the fact that their SSD might be a little slower with this dedicated space and this quick resume. Because if you're hopping quick resume, it's going to be blazing fast. And I do play multiple games usually at once, but it's never more than like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where with quick resume, I'm personally planning on using it all the time. Like I love that it's a system-wide feature, because I don't know, it's going to be rare that I cold boot a game. That doesn't happen normally.
You'll be cold booting it only for the first time.
Right, exactly. I'll cold boot it once, and then I'll never do it until I beat the game again, and then pretty much.
It's definitely a game changer for those like Donnie who dip in and out of multiple games at once. So I think it was very smart for Xbox to include that, because I think that's a lot of what that player base is. You're jumping from game to game. So it'll be really cool to see for people like you, Garrett, who also have a ginormous backlog and play. So
I don't want to play multiple games at the same. That sounds stressful to me. I think the only way or situation I would do this is basically if I'm playing a heavy single player RPG and then going back to a very laid back, I don't know, quick multiplayer match or something like that.
That's my life, not multiplayer part, but yeah. I mean, I'm usually playing like before I sold my 1X, I was playing Dishonored 2, and then I would play PGA Tour. And then I would play like Hyperdot, and then maybe like Gears, and just kind of whatever I was planning on, whatever I was feeling at the moment, I would just hop into one of those games. And I play the Switch the same way. I basically always have I usually always have a game that I'm playing for story, and I usually always have a game that I'm just playing for fun. And I kind of call that like my evergreen title. I think for many people, those are probably like multiplayer shooters. like Fortnite and stuff. That's not it for me. It's usually like golf game, sports game, something like that, wrestling game, just something I'm playing to have fun, like a palate cleanser.
If they bring Genshin Impact to Xbox, you bet your butt. Now I'm gonna, keep that online
See,
suspended off to the side.
that's the one I wonder about because right now with those online games, because you have to
Right.
log into the server, you can't
Yeah.
suspend
No,
those.
you can't.
So I'm
You
wondering how
can, but
that's
all it's going
gonna.
to do is just going to disconnect you from the lobby and drop you back into the home screen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I had a lot of
So
people
you
ask me
just
that on Xbox a couple weeks ago. I was like, yeah, how does Switch do
yeah.
that? If you suspend Fortnite mid-match and you hop back in, it's just going to give you a connection error and drop you back into the lobby.
That's
The
what Destiny does.
It's still
yeah.
bypassing the initial boot and the initial load screen and everything. It's just
Hmm.
going to drop you back
Mhm.
into the lobby, but it's still faster than not. But
And then it'll depend on your internet and how fast that is to get back
Yeah.
online.
pretty
There's
much,
different types of online too. Like there's online to external servers or whatever Xbox or PlayStation has. With Genshin, it's just like their servers, and then you can pause
Dedicated,
the.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like a login mainly. If you play single player, it's a single player game. You pause and the game pauses.
I was going to say,
Uh,
I don't know
Mhm.
much about Destiny, but I'd imagine if you were like in some online shared world, is it possible that when you're back at the base or something and everybody's
No,
just running around that it could just reconnect?
it boots you out if you're idle
Gotcha.
for so long because you can only have so many people in an instance. So
Yeah.
everything you do in that game is an instance. So if you're idle for too long, it'll boot you out because it
Yeah.
needs to make space for other
Save
players who want to
resources.
get in. So first you get booted back to your ship, so you're just kind of flying, and then once you're idle from there for so long, you get booted off the server. So I imagine it'll be all the same stuff, but at least, like you said, if you have it suspended, you're already back at the title screen instead of having to wait for that to load up, which takes some time.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
you
Yep.
get to bypass all of that goodness.
Well, you wonder, like
All
on the
right.
PlayStation 5 side, if you hit Destiny 2, can you just hop to the title screen?
I'd imagine.
Like with their activity things?
Well, their activity, I don't think that's going to work for a game like that.
See, and that's I'm so
Mhm.
like I'm slightly excited for it and but also like slightly like confused by it.
I feel like
It
the
goes both
activities are
ways.
more like if you're already, you can't bring that up until you're actually in game. So these are all the activities or trophies that you're basically hunting. You can jump to certain points to get that
And
stuff,
I
but I feel like
imagine
it's only until you're in game.
they only unlock as you progress in the game, so you can't like jump into the game and then jump to the end of the game.
Yeah, no, I don't think so
So
either. I
they're
think it'll
being
have to be
built
something
out
that you've already
as
started.
you're doing it.
I
And so
imagine,
that
yeah.
makes me think that they're going to be built around trophies.
That's my guess. I don't see why you would
It'll either
have
be
them otherwise.
it'll be trophies or chapters.
Hmm.
Okay.
I can't think of any other reason to what they would be utilized for. Like if you're
I
looking for a certain item,
right.
if it's a quest based thing, so you're looking for a certain part of a certain quest, maybe you can jump to a little title card for that.
That helps me understand a little bit better. I think that makes it slightly less exciting because I was expecting that maybe they would have like predictable save states of the game that you could just go to, and I didn't realize that you had to be in game first, which I guess makes sense because you
Again,
have to
this is all
open up.
speculation.
Well, no, I think you're right because you can't open that control center until you've booted the app, right?
Hmm.
So that actually makes more sense now. Obviously I haven't studied it, but I was in my head. I was thinking if they had like predictable, like every game you could just like hit the title screen or you could hit the file select screen or something like from the go. But no, it's just going to be So it's going to be achievements and chapter based.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't see any reason for it to be anything else because then, like, why would I want to be able to jump to a chapter before I've gotten there? It just
That was
I
what
feel
I
like
was
that would
thinking
just
when
be
they were
weird.
demoing, and I had like I almost came away with more questions. It's like I kind of see what you're doing, but I was like, how does this work? Because it reminded me of like what Stadia was doing, right? Remember they were talking like you could save your game and then send your friend a link and they could just hop in right where you are. That's where kind of where my
Yeah.
head was going. I was like,
Oh,
maybe they can do stuff like this, but and I was also a little I thought it was weird that it's like developer generated. I was honestly thinking like
that
if
too.
the community could like create a save point or something like that and then share it into like some sort of online community hub or something that you can grab them from. I was wondering if that might have more value than the devs doing it.
Maybe for a game like Little Big Planet, but I
Yeah.
can't imagine Like, would I want that for Demon Souls? No, because my run is my run, right? So if I'm pulling some community based save, what does that community based save have? You know? So your
Mhm.
thread of thought I'd never even got to. I looked at it as like, oh, that's cool. If I happen to pass something up or whatnot, or I'm in a chapter and there's something that I missed, I can jump back to a point in time to be able to collect that item or get that thing that I
Oh, that's
missed.
gonna
So
be
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
that's gonna be so good for Witcher 3. I missable trophies, like missable.
Dude, we're on a new gen. You're talking about this game. You're still
Yeah, I'm
Is
talking about.
Witcher 3 is getting a whole
I
new
know.
gen upgrade. It's
I
I
know.
can't
ridiculous.
wait. I can't wait.
That game in GTA 5 will never die. We will
That's
be
true.
on Xbox 27 and PS 19 or whatever.
I'm gonna
It'll
replay.
still be there.
I'm gonna replay GTA 5
Oh, nice.
for sure.
I'm not.
For sure.
I mean, if they don't charge me for the next gen upgrade, I'll boot it up and see how pretty it
Didn't
looks.
it come to
But
PlayStation
that's
for
not
free?
it. That's what they said GTA Online is coming,
No.
but I haven't
With
heard.
that announcement, they announced the GTA 5 next gen patch. I think is coming to PlayStation Plus too. It was like the after.
Right.
It was mentioned after that. They were like, online's coming, and we're patching GTA 5, and I think that's coming to PlayStation Plus.
As long as it's free, I'll check it out and see how trace the rays are. Other than that,
Trace the
I'm not
race.
Trace those raids, bro.
I don't know if I'm going to try and replay that entire game. I don't have it in me. I typically play one game at a time, so
Ugh. Ugh.
I can't focus on multiple things. Like I hate jumping into a game and not
Ugh.
remembering the damn controls because I've been
Mhm.
playing something else.
Mhm.
It drives me insane. And then I'll put that game down and never finish it or never go back to it. So I've learned that for me, I just want to exist in this world until I'm done with it. Then we'll move on to the next.
I
That's just
gotcha.
how I roll.
Sounds good. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Did you guys buy anything?
I did actually. I got a new capture card, a new external capture card. So I have the AverMedia Live Gamer Ultra, which actually does 4K HDR 60 pass through, and they can
Nice.
record and broadcast 4K HDR at 30. So I probably won't be broadcasting in 4K because that is just so bandwidth heavy. It's ridiculous. If
Mhm.
anything, I'll do 1440 60, and then also still be able to play at 4K 60 with HDR turned on. So I did that mainly because I want to be able to stream the PS5 for Extra Life. So on the 14th, I'll be doing a 12-hour stream and it'll be all PS5. And I wanted to be able to have it at a very nice looking stream as well as not sacrificing what the game actually looks like on my end. I want to be able to see it in all of its 4K HDR glory. So
Nice.
yeah. So pretty excited about that. I've been putting it through its paces. It's a nice little piece of hardware.
I'm excited
Nice
about
piece
the
of
Extra
hardware.
Life team. You guys are doing a great job. It makes me,
Yeah.
I told Kevin yesterday, it makes me very, very happy. Not only to see that you guys are doing such a great job, but the fact to see that it's the PSVG team. Now
Yeah.
that against Sean and Ray and everybody, like they do an amazing job as well. They're one of the best. But we have a big team. I've always wanted us to kind of do it ourselves. But I'm just that kind of way. Not much of a follower in that regard. You know, it's just like why are we partnering with other people? We could do this on our own.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really proud of you guys seeing what you're doing. I made a donation yesterday. So
Nice. We'll definitely have a schedule up. We are splitting a lot of our streams over like a couple weeks or something like that.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be a good time. And of course, Kevin and Josh gonna be there on game day doing 24 hours. So we'll definitely be there present. But yeah, I can't wait for it. It's gonna be good.
It's gonna be fun times.
I haven't bought anything, and because I'm conserving money and or buying other video games.
got that 3080, huh?
Yeah, I wish.
We all wish.
We all wish. My Retroid Pocket 2 it's in transit right now. It's shipped from China, so I have no idea where it is. But it is in transit, and they say it's in the US.
It's been commandeered for Corona reasons.
Probably.
We had several of those. I'm not sure if you guys follow any of that, but we ordered like several pallets and things of like masks and stuff like that, all completely commandeered by the U.S. government as soon as they cross customs.
Wow.
Jeez.
That's insane. But yeah, I should be getting it this week. I hope. But yeah, other than that, I got a Switch dock. You got a Switch dock as well. Mine's a cheap one, and I like it because I can
too.
Well, yours is $70 compared to my $20.
It wasn't.
Right?
It was on sale for $49.99.
I still got mine for
Master
$20
of the deal.
So
I wouldn't have bought mine for 70. I didn't need a dock that bad, but now that I have it, I actually kind of want to buy another one. I don't know if I'll ever play on not this ever again. The Genki.
Yeah, you really like that.
Yeah, the Genki travel dock's where it's at. Have you seen it, Dev?
No.
It's like a wall outlet, like a surge protector for your TV. You just plug it into the wall, and it has a USB cable that you just plug into your Switch and an HDMI cable that goes to your TV. But it's from the wall. So it's like an outlet. You plug into the wall. You plug your HDMI cord into it, your USB cord into it. You just plug it into your Switch, and it's a dock. That's it. It's just a cord. It's just one cord.
Okay, why would I want that instead of just dropping it into the dock?
It's not whether you want it more or less. It's just there is no dropping it in. There's no like piece of hardware or anything out for the dock. So like for me, you'll be proud. I Velcroed my USB-C to my HDMI. So it all just sits behind the TV. There's no cord. And I just slightly pull it out, plug in my Switch when I'm playing on the TV, and I'm playing. And it's like super minimal. There's nothing there. You wouldn't even think I even had a Switch. There's just nothing on the table anymore. It's just gone. It just completely got rid of the entire footprint. And if you travel, which is what it's for, you just pull the dock out of the wall, and like it literally is this big. Like you just hold it in your hand.
It's like a USB.
Yeah, like you could put it in your pocket. That's how tiny this thing is. So you could just take it with you, and you have a dock with you.
Clearly, I don't travel.
Yeah, same.
We don't travel these days.
Same.
But wait, if you're traveling, that's the whole point of the portable part, right?
Unless you want to play.
Because any place I've gone, I can't even get to the HDMI ports on TVs. So, like, if I'm in a hotel, they have all that stuff blocked off, so I can't even get to them. So I'm like, well,
you gotta pull it out.
Gotta rip it apart.
Come on, Dev, you're the master of the tinker. I'm sure you looked at those and you were like, I can do it.
I have definitely
couple of screwdrivers.
I have definitely been like, oh, y'all ain't hiding this from me. I'm gonna get back there.
I see Dev like one of those bank
like,
robbers in like a movie. He has like a rollout. He just rolls out like a line of screwdrivers and different
tiny electronic tools. Yeah, I'm loving it. There we go. There it is.
Fix it.
Right on the money.
Yeah, but that's cool. I'm glad you were able to have a nice minimal setup and hide all those wires. Garrett, I'm looking at you. Yeah, you need to do that too, sir. Your wires.
We need a tour around my cords. It's all around.
I'm on a rampage. I'm getting rid of cables everywhere, except at the PC, which probably hurts Dev the most. I don't care about these cables at all. It's the amount of cables that I care about. I care about my console cables. I got them all nicely like intertwined and patched and stuck to things, so they're all nice. And this is just a mess. They're just all on the floor, and who cares?
You're a monster. You're
PC.
An absolute monster.
It's a PC. Who cares? Nobody cares.
Wow.
All tangled up.
They're not tangled.
Yeah,
they are all rolled and Velcroed off. So I got that. I don't have like any slack or anything run on the ground. They are all rolled up and Velcroed.
Okay, well, I can appreciate that. Yeah, I actually went through and redid my cables today. Yeah.
Nice.
Garrett. Make it happen. All right.
You see that look?
Cables.
Garrett.
It's a monstrosity over there. You got to stop that. Okay, well, that wraps up that segment nicely. So let's get into some news. About to bore Donnie to sleep real quick.
So is this the coffee break part?
This is like you probably won't talk for a little bit.
So AMD, they're about to be the new PC standard. I mean, they already have been making their way there with their processors because they have just been absolutely incredible for performance, whether it's been single core, which now it has one of the if not the fastest single core, single thread, single process processor, but for multi-processing, multitasking, AMD has always been the way to go. And now even more so, like their new line, the Zen 3, the 5000 series, it's still going to be the best bang for buck in processing. We've got new benchmarks for all of that stuff. It's a 26% generational uplift compared to the 3000 series. The Ryzen 9 5900X, which is going to be their flagship, which is $549. Talking about 12 cores, 24.
Oh,
Oh no, I've lost you guys. Can you guys hear me? You guys
yep.
there?
I never
Okay,
stop
cool.
hearing you.
Okay, cool. It showed that you guys had dropped off for a minute there
That's
on
not
my
fun.
side. Yeah. Anyways, 12 cores, 24 threads, 4.8 gigahertz boost clock. The thing is a beast,
Yeah,
an absolute beast.
yeah.
Oh,
I'm kind of excited for Ryzen, man. Like this is like I've always seen Intel as being like the flagship CPUs, but over the past
mm-hmm.
like 2 years now, 2 to 3 years, they're kind of like they have the performance up and everything. It's just the price and the proprietary motherboard.
Yep.
Now it's like, well, if I'm gonna upgrade next time, I'm gonna need a new motherboard anyways for a new Intel. It's like, why not go AMD? And like they got their performance there now. The prices are okay; they're comparable, I think. And like now they have, that connection with their GPUs as well. I
Oh
think
yeah.
they're making a nice ecosystem with.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Mhm.
Oh my god, the rage mode, like the smart access that they've actually brought when you combine the graphics card with the new GPU or the new CPU, it's something that Intel and Nvidia can't do. Like everybody was always, yeah, you got to go Intel, you got to go Nvidia. Like that's just kind of been the known thing, especially from a gaming standpoint.
Mhm.
But AMD, what they've done now with their newly announced just this week, their 6000 series, the Big Navi as they would call it. Um, just oh, the early preliminary benchmarks
Mhm.
are really, really taking it straight to Nvidia. They have either their 6800 XT is either matching the 3800 or beating it in a lot of areas.
Yes.
Um, or the 38, not 3000, 3080.
Right.
All
Right.
these daggone nomenclature names. Ugh. And it's at a lower cost
Yeah.
and more RAM. So it's got 16 gigs of RAM compared to its 10.
But less rays, right?
Well, we don't know about the rays yet.
Yeah. We don't know much about the ray tracing at all.
Yeah, we don't know about their ray tracing or their like DLSS like component. Like they're still working on that, but just preliminary out the gate, it's looking like it's actually for once finally going to be a true competitor to Nvidia.
Mhm.
And then when you match that up with their CPU and you're able to use that one button overclock as they call it, their rage mode, where you're actually able to access the smart access memory feature is supposed to give a 13% improvement in games or whatnot. So they're able to actually share the memory across the board between each other and just kill games. So AMD, they are on a metaphoric rise right now. They're a meteoric rise right now. They're just
Metaphoric.
cream of the crop.
I just want to
Yeah.
say for the AMD CPUs.
It's a great word. I loved it. That was hilarious.
Cap that.
The architecture is like they're down to the 7 nanometer now, and they're only getting smaller. Whereas Intel is still keeping their 14 nanometer architecture, and it seems like their next gen, whatever it's going to be next year, is speculating that it's not going to get any smaller than that. So I'm like, well, how are you going to get more power per performance there if you're not making it any smaller?
Yep.
And you see in their presentations, both of them, the GPU and CPU, at the end, they're like, hey, we're done. We got these designs up for the Ryzen and the big Navi GPUs or whatever. But now we're thinking ahead already. We're already thinking of next year. We're already thinking of what can we do to improve. And I think that's what AMD needs to do is keep this iteration going and keep the performance up. And on top of that, just like, you can just probably make a very powerful red build for years, actually, to come.
Absolutely.
When do these big Navi GPUs go on sale?
November. It's like I think it's November 18th on 6800.
You guys totally fine with buying a GPU without knowing what its ray tracing capabilities are at that cost?
I mean, I'm sure we'll find out before they go on sale.
You think so?
Oh yeah. I think just like we had like right before the Nvidia, the 3080 and the 3090 went out, like there were actual, reviewers that had access to them and
Well, of
put them
course,
through their
but
paces.
they were talking about ray tracing at their unveiling, at their launch. They went in through all the details of all the hardware and everything that they're doing and
Yeah.
why it's better.
Mm-hmm.
And this,
Mm-hmm.
they just kind of omitted it. I saw several people speculating on Twitter that AMD solution could come post launch.
I'm definitely waiting on the ray tracing aspect of this. There, and also the DLSS component for AMD. I am not going to buy one day one, of course. I don't think so at all. But I'm sure other people that, they have their old AMD GPUs, like, man, this is the upgrade I need. They're going to probably swap that up. And then people who have like for myself, an NVIDIA 1080 Ti, it's like, well, now we got these two options. I know NVIDIA is proving a little bit more with their super sampling and their ray tracing, but if I make an all-around one red build, that sounds cool to me. It sounds uniform. The ray tracing is only going to get better as well.
Right.
So I'm excited.
And I mean, for me and Garrett, we have 1080s. We don't have ray tracing now, so any ray tracing is more ray tracing than we have. So there's also that aspect to it. If you're somebody who's coming from a 2080 Ti, even with that, the ray tracing, unless you really minimize the actual performance, like if you're going from like high or medium, you can get the ray tracing and get above 30 frames. So even going with something like the new 6800 XT or going with the 3080, you're getting a performance increase regardless.
Yeah.
Even though they haven't said anything, I expect to hear more about what they're doing before launch, and we'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. But I think that they have really, put a line in the sand, like, hey, come on. We've got some good stuff, and like Garrett said, like if you're looking to upgrade, you've got a really compelling reason to go with the full Team Red build. Like it's just they have a very, very compelling offer for the CPU the CPU and GPU space, where people were already beginning to really lean towards AMD anyway. Intel seems like they're not really trying to iterate or get any better. They're just like, it's almost like arrogant Sony in the PS3 era. Like that's kind of what Intel kind of feels like. Yeah, we're still in this 14 nanometer. Every iteration that we've had for the last couple of years, like you really haven't had a reason to upgrade. We're Intel. We got this. We're big. We're fine. We'll put out whatever the people buy.
Motherboard to get a new CPU. Isn't that insane? And so I saw a fresh benchmark leak of not even the flagship CPU for Ryzen, the Ryzen 7 5800X, which is like a tier below. That's beating the i9 10900 Kaby Lake. Mm-hmm. Like it's beating the best CPU over at Intel. It's like AMD's there now. AMD is having the multi-core and the single core thread performance. Exactly. It's gonna be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a new PC build. Donnie, do you want us to build you a new PC? Yeah,
that's gross.
just terrible.
The Intel thing is interesting to hear the way you guys talk about them, because my understanding was they're probably not chasing this market. Is that fair to say?
They used to, though.
That is their market. Like
it literally is their market.
When I think of Intel, I think of like big corporation PC towers, like big bulk off the shelf stuff, like everything that my government buys, like on the Windows space, is all Intel based. They would never buy like an AMD based computer.
Well, AMD does a lot of that as well. So they're all in the electronics department. I just think Intel's been ignoring kind of like the advancements of their CPU in general, and that bounces back to not just our gaming PCs, but also their laptops. And like anything, built off of the Intel CPU, it's just not gonna get much faster. It seems like, compared to where AMD's roadmap is.
Yep. I mean, I would say that Intel still has like the Xeon line, the server-based stuff, like on lock. They have that. So like that, from a government standpoint, all of our servers, everything we have is Intel. But it's funny, all of our desktop PCs that I've been procuring for all of our city people actually have AMD graphics. Like
I think that's because
they're Intel with AMD.
That's because you're procuring them.
No, it's because it's just the better way to go. Like it's just been the better way.
So we have I'm sure you do too. We have a contracted catalog that we put out for everybody, and none of it's all Intel based, and it's just
No, we don't have that.
integrated graphics. We have like
Mm.
pre-agreed to prices with the, with our
Oh,
provider.
we don't have that. I have to go to bid for everything that we do. It's just a
Ah,
Bakersfield thing. And so basically, I go to Dell, I go to Lenovo, and be like, look, this is what I want. What do you have that fits these specifics that I need?
sure.
And then I go with the best deal that I can get
And
for what
that's
I need for like my engineers to be able to have computers. So,
Yep. And that makes a lot more sense if you're being that competitive about it. That if you go
yeah,
with a different provider, you might be able to gain a little bit more.
yeah.
That makes a lot
Mhm.
more sense.
Yeah, we don't have just contracts. It would be a lot easier if we did, but with the way Bakersfield wants to always be competitive and allow local businesses to be able to buy or be able to take on that contract, you have
We
to go
get
that
like
way. So,
i9 computers with integrated graphics for like $250, I think, a piece.
yeah,
Towers.
I can't do integrated graphics. You can't run AutoCAD with integrated graphics. So I'm like, look,
Mm.
That's the
I can't
thing.
do that.
Yeah.
Like my engineers will murder me if I try to give them a PC with
I'm
integrated
just thinking
graphics.
of like our
So
standard, like we have like 30,000 employees. So we buy a lot of PCs.
Hmm.
yeah, I don't have that many. I don't have that many. We buy a lot of PCs every like probably 3 years,
Hmm.
and like right now we've been doing a lot of replacement. We've had a
We
lot of stuff
replace
die.
we replace every computer every 3 years for 30,000
Yeah,
people.
I wish I could
That's
do
so
that.
much
I
weight.
truly,
We have a
Oh,
I
rotation. That's how our IT department. That's how they handle. That's how they do things. We have a rotation. So every
yeah,
year, certain departments get a refresh of new models, and then every 3 years they row through that rotation completely.
what do you
yeah.
do?
Our desktops are 5 years. Our laptops are 3.
The county donates a lot of our old ones to like the
Okay.
local Boys and Girls Club, and then we sell a lot of them for parts.
I
Yeah.
will.
Makes sense.
No, we do. We throw ours in a bin downstairs and have them recycled.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do some of that too. I know we do a lot of recycling. Like we definitely we pull, and I only know this because I'm just friends with our shop guys.
Hmm.
But we pull every hard drive, right? Every hard drive's
Yeah, we do
destroyed.
that. We do that too. Yeah, we do that
But
too. We have
the
to pull them all.
computers and the parts themselves, we donate, I think, a good portion of them to the Boys and Girls Club, and then we sell off other things.
I've been trying to do that. I've wanted to do that, but they're like, it's too much paperwork. It's too much of a hassle. We're gonna just throw them in the dump. So yeah, we pull the hard drives, we destroy them, but the computers, which are all still for the most part working,
Yep.
they just go in a bin. They go out to our local recycling team, and that's it. We get pennies on the pound. So it makes me sad.
Oh,
Yikes.
It makes me sad.
Not sustainable.
So no, it's dumb. But yeah, so AMD is basically king of the
There.
castle right now.
Hmm.
So
I want
if
to
you're
see the
looking to
benchmarks.
build a new PC anytime soon, AMD is the way you go. Just
Hmm.
go AMD.
I would have to say that with NVIDIA, they still have a well-established, machine learning department, the DLSS
Hmm.
and the ray tracing. So if you're going like a Ryzen CPU and an NVIDIA GPU, that's still totally a viable option as
Oh
well.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if you're also like us, where we do a lot of streaming, well, not doubting, um, or we're recording podcasts, we're going live, stuff like that, like the NVIDIA broadcast suite is still really awesome to be able to have that software green screen where you don't actually need to put up a green screen. It does a fantastic job. The RTX where it actually gets rid of like all the noise canceling stuff like that is still a very, very awesome little suite of stuff to be able to have
Mhm.
if you're in that realm. So Nvidia still has a leg up there. And there's also all the rumors that they may actually have, their super line or their TI line of GPUs. So we may get a 3080 Super or a 3080 Ti, which has 20 gigs of RAM opposed to the 10 right now, which then also beat out,
it's
the
even bigger.
6800, which has 16. My God, the 3080. He's got 3080. So yeah, it's gonna be an exciting time. Just with actual competition, like they're gonna keep trying to this one up game, and it seems like AMD is already working on RDNA 3, so we may see either a new line or like they may take a page out of Nvidia's book and do like a super line of the 6800 series. So who knows? Who knows? It's an exciting time for computer builders. We got all the RGBs. Corsair has all kind of new stuff. Everybody's making water blocks. Oh, it's just the gloriousness of building is it's there. It's a lot of fun right now.
Now let's see if we can actually buy them. They don't go out.
Right.
They're not for
That's
sale.
the other thing. Trying to buy things is really, really difficult. You got to get lucky or go to Micro Center, apparently.
Apparently, yeah. I see people on Twitter. I'm like, how did you get a 3080? Like, how is that possible? And these are people that have thousands of followers. So I'm like, okay, maybe you're a little bit of an influencer, but I think you just bought it from the website somehow or from eBay.
Yeah, either that or like I said, like I've seen a lot of people who Micro Center happens just apparently is like the place to get all your stuff right now because you can just show up and they keep getting pallets of things. So I've seen lots of people being able to get the graphics cards from Micro Center.
Mm-hmm.
Our closest one is like 2 hours away, so I'm not going to Micro Center.
I haven't even heard of Micro Center until like recently. So, yeah.
I didn't hear about it until I moved out here, which is crazy because there was a Micro Center like in LA, like there's one out there. And I didn't even know about it until I moved out here. I'm like, what the hell is Micro Center? What is that? I went to Best Buy and I went to Fry's.
Yeah, Fry's was another one.
What is Micro Center? But apparently it's the place to be. I mean,
that's cool.
If you want one, go camp outside of a Micro Center. Just ask them when are your delivery days and show up that day, and you might get lucky.
Yeah.
So
that'd be good.
Yeah. All right, moving right along. Streaming. It's still there. It's still a thing. People are still streaming video games. It's happening, yeah.
Sure,
Stadia has a lot of new stuff. They're really trying to make some waves with getting some games and things. Luna
they made some waves
out.
this month. They made a lot of waves this month.
They made a ripple.
No.
What?
You didn't see the guy that said that gamers should be buying licenses to stream games?
Well, see, that's not necessarily Stadia. That's a developer at a company. That's his title, but he's not actually.
Stadia was trending the day
developer.
that he said it, and that's the first time Stadia has trended since his announcement.
This is true.
I get what you're trying to say, and I understand it.
You just want to poke.
But I'm not going to let it go, because I'm not wrong. What a mess. What a mess. They trended for all the wrong reasons.
Oh. It absolutely did.
And it is a shame because they were making, I wouldn't say waves, but they kept announcing more and more games. They kept, they had like their pro announcements, and then literally after that entire week, he ruined it with one tweet that he then leaned into all day long. He just kept going.
Yeah, absolutely. He went all in with that. And it's funny because it just sparked this wave of, well, should you be paying a license for this? Should you be paying for a license for that? It's just like, oh, God, here we go. It's just the amount of DMCA takedowns that have happened on YouTube and Twitch over the last like couple of weeks since this. People like, oh, well, we need to pay for all of your music. You need to license music. Amazon and Twitch have this soundtrack thing now for Twitch. But apparently they didn't actually license any of that stuff. So it's still like this weird gray area. Musicians, they want their money for their stuff. Yeah. They don't think about the fact that if a Twitch streamer is using my song in their stream or whatnot, that's bringing more eyes to the song that may not have ever heard it. The same way, like if you watch a movie and you see a song in like the trailer or whatnot, you're like, what is this? Let me go find it. Music needs to kind of get out of this old world thinking and realize that with people, broadcasting your music and things of that nature, like it's going to bring more people to your music. So
that's true.
Stop trying to fight everybody who's streaming just with your song on in the background. Like, stop.
Yeah,
let's move forward. Let's progress.
It's fighting on that end and also subscription based as well. Like with Taylor Swift with Spotify,
we already have subscriptions, so it's already gone. So at this point, you can only benefit by getting your music to more and more people.
No, that's true. I streamed Tell Me Why, and they legit muted the part that had music in the beginning. And I'm like, this is a little, come on. Like, it's in a video game. And it's like, I'm sure Tell Me Why paid for the license for that to, get that in there. But like, it's, I don't want to tell.
Man, it's the same thing that he's talking about. It's people who can make so much money on YouTube and Twitch. But it's honestly, it's too big of a piece of pie to leave out.
That's true. Yeah. I'm wondering if they could just like do some type of concerts or whatever, like music demos in Twitch, I think that would bring a lot of eyes to the music community. It seems like it's closed off, at least for me. When I go through Spotify, I look at artists that, I was like, oh, wait, they have new music out? I did not realize that, even though it came out like 2 months ago. What if, like, they had a platform for themselves to, like, hey, we're premiering our album or premiering a couple of songs.
I think everybody does. Everybody has that platform. That's makes it harder, is that with the platforms we have, there's so many people doing that. It's just a sea of noise. How do you stand out?
I mean, if you're an artist who's big enough to have that platform, like Busta Rhymes, for example, he just had an album drop the other day. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And it is actually quite amazing. But if he would have partnered with somebody, let's say on Twitch or whatnot, who actually just streamed the album or he did it himself. Like you've seen, there have been some artists like T-Pain has been like all over Twitch. Like you have some artists that realize the power of that. If you started to have like an actual music scene on Twitch, a lot more people would find a lot more music. And then maybe we could finally have some kind of like synergy between the music industries and the streaming to be able to bring it all together.
The thing that I think, and this is completely off the base of where we're supposed to be talking about,
gone way off the rails.
The thing that I've always thought about, like, so YouTube, for example, like they demonetize you if you are monetizing something and you're using somebody else's music. I'm wondering if we could come up with a standard like cut where if you use somebody else's music in your video that's monetized and it makes however much money, then the artist gets that money. Call it like 50%. Like, I don't even care if it's like egregious, even if it's a lot. It's like, it's 50%. Okay. Well, every time, if I made $1,000 off of this video and it got seen by, 100 million people, well, then that artist gets $500 or whoever owns the royalties of that, right? That monetization. Somebody's making money off of your music that they're using. So here, you have a right to claim a part of that money, as opposed to taking it out of the video altogether.
Absolutely.
Like
much better solution.
We demonetize on YouTube, PSVG as a whole. The reason that I demonetize on YouTube is because of that reason. We had several issues where whether it was our music or clips of music or anything, that our videos weren't just being demonetized, they were being taken down and stricken. And we kept getting, and it just wasn't worth it. Monetization on YouTube, like, we're not that big enough that it's even worth it for us. Like at best, maybe I'm giving up, I don't know, $50, $100 a year, or something like that. And that's another thing, is we don't really put all of our eggs in the YouTube basket like most folks in this realm. And so it was a very easy decision for me. But I've always wondered, like, just give them the money instead. I don't even care if it was like an egregious amount. Let's say you use Green Day's album in your YouTube video. Well, then Green Day gets 90% of the money you make on that video. Again, totally better than taking the video down or muting it. That's a better, because then at least hey, if you put the music in there, you're not going to make any money off of this, right? But you know it up front. And I don't understand why they never kind of did something like that instead of what they do. But it's neither here nor there. Now the streaming stuff we talked about a little bit. I actually think that's actually something to consider. There's the funny thing is who he is and who he represents. He should have never said anything like that. Stadia is a streaming service. Like, it was just completely unabashedly wrong. Had a gaming journalist said that, had Jason Schreier said it instead, now I actually think there is something to say there. And the reason being is streaming is big money. We continue to see the rise and the impact that streaming has. In a lot of cases, these very popular streamers making more money than the creators themselves.
Yeah.
People don't want to hear it. And I do think there's pros and cons on both sides, but legally, I actually think the statement probably has some merit. I would not be surprised, because streaming rights are typically, I really don't look at them any different than, say, TV rights, right? Like, if NBC is showcasing an NFL game that day, like, they're making all the money off of that, but it's a pre-agreed to contract with the NFL, and there's revenue sharing. I think streaming could very well be the same, especially if it continues to go. I don't think it needs to happen now, because I think right now the juice isn't worth the squeeze. I think streaming is giving video gaming more money than they ever had before. I think that's why revenue is up year over year. But just forecasting in the future, if streaming continues on its pace of being like that, I wouldn't be surprised to see exclusive contracts with certain streamers to stream certain games for an exclusive period of time, or an exclusive contract that Call of Duty, for example, could only be streamed on Twitch. And maybe that's a deal that Twitch makes with Activision or something. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see that happening at all, because there's money to be made. And we see in the gaming business, when there's money to be made, people make money. I mean, NBA 2K is freaking putting ads in loading screens. Like, is it really that crazy to think that they would not want you to stream their game without you paying them for that streaming, paying them a streaming fee, or license it with a specific platform? And I think licensing would be the better way of getting around it, because it's nicer. I could totally see NBA 2K going streamable only on Twitch. And if you put any footage of that game up on YouTube at all, you're instantly hit with a takedown. I could absolutely see that being a thing in the future, because there's the money.
Let's not forget the multiplayer passes that they tried to institute. Like, in order to have multiplayer, you had to have a pass back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, they tried that. So I definitely wouldn't be at all surprised to see.
I'd hate to see it. Like, I really would hate to see it, because I think that's the coolest thing about streaming, is it's so organic. It's like felt like such a grassroots thing. But we see now, like, so many famous people are using it to make money now, and that's where it goes off the board, right? Not to completely throw a wrench in this subject, but the WWE, for example, have taken over the Twitch channels from all of their talent. So any wrestler, and there are a lot of wrestlers that stream for extra money, and the WWE are basically saying, like, you're doing this on our dime. Like, people wouldn't be watching you to the degree they're watching you if it wasn't for us making you a TV celebrity and on the thing. And I think they actually have some sort of creative control, marketing, media appearance stuff in their contracts where they are allowed to do that. But that's the thing. Like, if AJ Styles is streaming as popular as he is, like, at that point, if he's making money off of NBA 2K, I do kind of feel for 2K at some point like that, because it's like, maybe they should get a cut of that. It is in fact their game.
It is, but then it's also the fact that, like, I'm bringing an audience to your game who may not have seen it. Now you're getting a sale. So
sure, but are they getting sales? Where is that conversion? That's the thing.
Look at gaming; it's huge.
I think right now it's balanced to where that we're getting much more PR to the games for streaming now. Yes, now the quote saying that people streaming should buy games to play them, that's a ridiculous statement. But, like, the statement of they legally could do that, like the providers, the developers, is like, hey, you got to pay for our game and license and everything to do this. They could legally do that.
Yeah.
So that's and that's another situation as well. It's like the developers, in the end, when you're playing a game on stream, there's a legal contract there you've signed up for.
It's really no different than, like, to use the music analogy, like, if you're running a club or a bar, or, like, you're a DJ business, if you're monetizing off of playing somebody else's stuff, like, you have to have a license.
Yeah.
You have to have a license. It's just it's not expensive. It's like $80 for an entire catalog of music you can play, but you can't just make money off of other people's creations indefinitely. Like, you have to, there is a cut that has to be paid. And I do think that principle applies to streaming in some way. I don't know which way, but in some way I think that applies.
It's just, for now, I think it's to the balance of, well, these streamers are giving me a lot more publicity right now, so I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah, the juice is not worth the squeeze. Absolutely.
Yeah. Down the line, though, that may change, and it wouldn't shock me at all. So with the WWE thing, like, kind of Chan TV, that's Asuka. Are they able to take it if they're not streaming under their WWE moniker?
That's exactly what they're doing. They're taking all separate channels down, and they're forcing talent to stream under their new channel. Now, here's the thing. You could sign over your account to them, or you could just disable the account. And most of the talent, especially the ones that were really doing good, like good
Xavier
stuff.
Woods?
Well, his stuff is actually already licensed to the WWE. He licensed up, down to them a long time ago, I believe. So for him, it's like he's like an outlier. He's he did this before all this stuff happened. So he was, like, way in advance of this. So that was more like a partnership. But like Asuka and AJ Styles and Paige and stuff, like they literally have their own communities that they've done themselves. I think they are disabling. They're like, we're not giving you anything. But their contract does not permit them to make money off of their likenesses while under contract. So the WWE has the ability to take them down.
Damn it, Vince.
Anyway, I was going to save this for Strong Style. I don't want to get too into this, but it's like, it's a really, really strange place because there's a part of me that understands exactly what they're doing. Like if you are I don't think it's like any different than like IGN or something, right? If you're giving these people a job and you're promoting them and you give them an audience because of your platform, and then they go and monetize that audience on their own, like there's something to be said there. It's kind of like the Kind of Funny thing. And I don't know, like there's pros and cons to both sides. There's a tit for tat on this on either way. I'm not defending the WWE or IGN or anybody like that, but like I thought the same thing with Kind of Funny. When they launched and everything, it's like, this is strange because they came to IGN as complete nobodies. IGN gave them the platform to be somebody, and then they took that platform and made their own thing.
We quit our jobs. We're getting rid of the corporate.
Not only did they do it, they did it in spite of the people that gave them the platform.
For me, I guess it's the mindset of you do your side hustle until it's your main hustle.
Sure.
Like, it's just
if you look at it like super capitalistic and everything, like there's nothing wrong. It's not a wrong. It's not a good versus bad, but like, is there some legal space or is there? And I think ultimately what we're at a crossroads where people are thinking about this in terms of business. And I think all future contracts, stuff like this will be accounted for. And I think that's the issue is that the time we're in now, we're on the cusp of this. So it wasn't being taken into account for.
Right.
I think the next time you sign an on-air personality agreement with IGN, there might be some language that's like, you can't defame the company when you leave. You may have like a no compete clause for a certain point in time. And like you may not be able to do, external marketing or whatnot like that if you're not under, if you're not promoting the company. There might be things like that go into it because the money has gotten to the point now where it's a lucrative venture.
Mm-hmm.
Taking my talents to South Beach.
Yep. It's very interesting from a business side.
It's fun to watch.
But we need to get back on track here. So Luna is out in the wild and people are playing.
Yes.
Luna has happened. It's happened very smallly, but it's it's getting there. It's getting off the ground. I've watched Chase sent me his podcast co-host Ashes to Ashes. It's Ashes to Ashes TV with a number 2 Ashes TV, and he's been streaming it, and I was quite impressed with some of the streams I was watching. He was doing lots of latency demos, looking at the controller, pressing the buttons. Cool. It looks like it's running quite well. I think the video quality obviously is not what you would expect on home console, which is what Stadia was trying to pitch, and that got them in a bind. And I think Luna was smart to not offer that as a comparison. It's not a replacement for your console. It's a way to play games if you don't have one or if you just don't want to do that. And so it's an alternative, but I was really impressed with it. But I was more impressed the fact that they are getting Uplay Plus, now named Ubisoft Plus, or as I've been calling it since the beginning, Ubi Plus. We had several people that were like, Donnie, I thought of you the moment they did this. I was like, this should have been the name the whole time.
Right.
They're getting Ubi Plus this month. And,
that's crazy.
And that is crazy. They're getting it before Stadia. Almost a year after Stadia announced it was coming, they still don't have it. Luna will get it first. Stadia will get it soon after. So it seems like some sort of agreement deal or whatnot is happening there.
Amazon is taking all of Stadia's mistakes and fixing them, basically.
They really are.
Amazon they kind of get it. Like, that's the difference. Like, Amazon as a tech company, they just get it in a lot of ways where Google doesn't. Like, Google starts up stuff and just walks away from it.
I wonder how much Twitch's influence is giving Amazon their kind of roadmap.
Right.
Yep.
There's probably some Twitch executives kind of telling them what to do and what not to do. I'd imagine. I imagine they're being at least consulted on these things. When they're thinking of how they're going to roll it out, how they're going to market everything, Twitch is like, do this, don't do that. Don't be you, Amazon. Like, don't do Amazon things. Do Twitch things. Because it feels very similar.
Yeah, I think the biggest leg up for Luna isn't it like easier for developers to just port it with the web-based
It's
platform.
not Linux based. It's Windows based.
Windows-based. That's what.
So if your game is already running on PC, you can just host it and run it.
It just
And they
optimizes
did one
things.
thing with like the catalog thing, the catalog idea. Here, you pay this month, you get a catalog of games. Here's the Uplay catalog of games. Here's the subscription for that. Like
again, I feel validated by that. I've said that forever. You can't piecemeal streaming. People don't value streaming a game with a box copy of a game. Those aren't the same value. They're different. Streaming, that's the whole point of Netflix, is you're renting a library. You're renting a bigger library than you could otherwise afford on your own. That's the whole point. So the moment they were like, hey, we're going to have streaming games and you buy piecemeal, I was like, oof, that's rough. I thought the same thing with PlayStation Now for that much. Like it's just, like you need to have, they were doing like individual rentals, Garrett, on PlayStation Now when it came out. You could rent a game for like 3 days or 2 weeks or 30 days or a year. It's like, who rents a game for a year? What are you trying to do, PlayStation? This makes no freaking sense. It's the stupidest thing. And Nintendo, I think we're about to get there. But Uplay, I think it's crazy. So Luna launches, they're going to get UB Plus, meaning that they're going to be able to play Valhalla and Phoenix Rising and everything for $5.99 a month plus the Ubi stuff. And the Ubi stuff I'm really excited about because they are actually doing what I never expected them to do, but I always wanted them to do. These streaming services are basically just an extension of their PC subscription. So as I understand it, you just subscribe to UB Plus and you can stream it on this platform you signed up for, or you can go to your PC and download the game and play it because you're still a UB Plus subscriber.
And it's all cross progression.
That's the best.
Isn't it?
Yeah, that's the best way to do it for us, for the PC gamers.
That is the best sell on streaming for any service, Stadia, whatever. That's the best sell on streaming I've seen to date.
Yes.
Because now you could play Valhalla in your Super 3080 or whatnot, but if you go away or you're on remote or you're traveling, now you actually have an option. You could subscribe for a month, pull it down on your PC, stream it, and then go back to your PC and pick up where you left off. You know, it's an alternative, not the way. That's really
and you don't have to lose progress. You're just able to just jump in, keep playing.
Or if you didn't want to play at your PC, maybe you wanted to play on your TV in your room or something, like that convenience factor. And at the price that they're selling it for, I think it makes all the sense in the world.
Absolutely.
It does seem like there will be an add-on. Ubisoft mentions that quite a bit. I think they're in their little bi-language. I jumped on a podcast with Chase and we kind of talked about it. In their language, they talk about how like a cloud fee could be implemented later. So I think it will be like some sort of Game Pass Ultimate before, it's all said and done. I think right now it's $14.99 a month, but I think we'll see something like $20 or $24.99 a month where now you can stream it. So like they have the base, you have the base PC Ubisoft Plus, and then you have the Ultimate Ubisoft Plus, whatever.
Yeah. Which you gotta remember, like those games are all the ultimate versions of the game too. So you get all the DLC. You don't have to buy any additional like add-ons. Like you just get all of that. Like it's a really, really, really good looking deal.
So the question then becomes, does this make sense for console, or does this hurt their aspirations on console too much?
That's a tough call, because if you then extend it out to console, then you cannibalize all of those sales. Because why would I pay $60 for Watch Dogs when I can just pay the $15 and I can play it everywhere?
Right, but if you're only launching 2 games a year, you announce 6 games a year, but you actually only launch 2 and you just keep delaying the other 4, then you are potentially getting more money annually from somebody at $15 than you are from the 2 games that you're launching.
I think these subscription-based models are proving that it's working with Game Pass, EA Play. I could see this being extended to console.
So the Ubisoft Plus, by essentially just connecting to accounts and greenlighting you for PC, that gives me a lot of hope that I think you could see an announcement or a deal made with Game Pass.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised at all. And maybe it's a different tier. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's a Game Pass tier that includes Ubisoft, or like a pack-in, or an add-on.
The same way they do with EA.
Yeah, an add-on. Well, see, EA is just built into it. I don't know if it's just built into it.
But so you have your UB Plus.
Yeah.
You pay an additional $5, and now you've added on the ability to play into
Yep.
Game Pass. You add another $5, you're able to play on the PS Now. You add another $5, you're able to play here. Another $5, you're able to play through the Nintendo Cloud or whatnot. I
Because
mean, I think that is a
what
viable
is
option.
the Xbox if just another PC tower? I mean, it's no different than you
It's
downloading
an
the game
inferior
on your
PC
PC.
tower, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes sense to be able to go this route and try to bring everything together because now it's like channels. It's like subscribing to a channel. So now you have the Ubisoft channel on all of your devices. You pay the subscription fee a month or whatnot, and then you get it. It just makes me wonder, like, then you got to stop delaying games. If I'm paying constantly, like every month for this content, but I'm not getting any new content, I wonder how many people then just turn off the subscription for that time and then wait. Because if I've already beat Watch Dogs and I've beat Valhalla and I'm not looking to go back in the back catalog, do I need to keep the subscription when you've delayed Far Cry 6 and you've delayed Rainbow Six Siege?
Mm-hmm.
Like, with Rainbow Six Siege also already being in Game Pass, like I wonder, like there's a lot of things that need to change and progressed to I think to make it where you eventually add this as a subscription tier to like a Game Pass Ultimate or something like that. You've added the Ubisoft tier.
Yeah.
So
You'll definitely need enough content for sure.
yeah. I mean, Ubisoft has enough content. It's just a matter of do you want to play all the old stuff or do you want to wait for the new stuff?
I'm imagining that a big issue, not an issue, a big debating point here is, do we launch our own Ubisoft Connect on these other consoles? Or do we tie into what they're doing with Game Pass and PlayStation Now? And they're probably weighing the pros and the cons of that. And there's probably some negotiating that's being done on both sides. And it's like, hey, like we could join Game Pass and we could help boon your platform and we can take advantage of the customers you already have. Or we could launch our own thing and we could still get $15 a month and make more money. Like there's a mix there, but the fact that they connected these services to cloud that also tie to your PC and let you play gives me hope. I never expected them to do that, to be honest with you. I never thought that they would go that far. But the fact that they did, I was like, it's a pretty major development.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what comes of it. EA has already put their foot in it, so let's see what Uplay Plus does.
Yeah.
Or whatever the hell it's called. UB Plus, Ubisoft Plus, who Connect, whatever.
And then Nintendo has officially joined into the cloud wars in the sense that they have launched the Control cloud version and they have announced the Hitman 3 cloud version coming soon to Nintendo Switch. I've played the Control demo.
I have.
What about you, Dev?
No.
You gotta try it out.
A Switch.
I have Control. I don't want to play it on the Switch. Like, why?
Just to see how it is. It's
I don't need
really just like a short trial.
They're working with a company called Ubitus.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's they're in Japan. This is the same provider that did the cloud versions of Resident Evil and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And it's interesting because they are not doing the subscription thing. They're selling the game to you as if it's a game. It's on the eShop. You're just buying the game. It's just the cloud version of the game. And I have a lot of thoughts to say on this. So do you just want me to go or do you guys want to jump in here?
You go because my thoughts are I don't care because it's the Switch.
I got a lot of things to say about this and it's interesting. The first thing that I have to say is I don't know if they're ready to make this a pillar of the platform. So a lot of my thoughts are probably like way too far down the road. However, I've said for the long time the company that has the most to gain from streaming is Nintendo, and it's because of the hardware and the delivery method in which they provide games. They have the most to gain from streaming. I think this could be like if Donnie was running Nintendo, I would use this as a way to continue to support the Switch as I launch newer models. Better models. So we've had a long rumors of Switch Pros, upgraded Switches coming. I would use cloud to continue to support the Switch Lite that we have, the Switch, as I launch better consoles that can do more games natively. And it would be amazing if they could actually get to the point where every game was hosted in their cloud, so you could stream it if that's all your device could do. but you could also play it natively if that's what your device could do. I think that would be utopia for Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
You can't run Control natively yet. But let's say the Switch Pro or the Switch Pro 2 or the Switch Pro New Plus in 2025, like if they keep doing the Switch thing where every 3 or 4 years they just bring you a better and better Switch, and let's say they do like a Shield TV, type thing where they have like a little console that can do super sampling in 4K, or like just like the Shield TV can. Maybe some of these games that are only in cloud now maybe come natively down the road, but if you've already bought the game, you can just download it and keep playing because it's tied to your account. Mm-hmm. There's a place here for Nintendo, and I already hear myself sounding like a homer, but it's because they're different, right? It's because they're different. It's because Nintendo's portable, hybrid console type thing makes case for this. It's no different than tablets. I'm not really making an exclusive case for Nintendo as much as I'm taking the mobile strategy that we have from Apple and I'm applying it to Nintendo. If the cloud works, and I mean, I played Control for the 5 minutes that you're allowed to play it. It worked. It didn't look great. It was compressed, but it looked a hell of a lot better than Control would if you ported it by far. There's a lot of
AAA games.
There's a lot of games on Switch now that's like, just stream it. Just for the love of God, just stream it. You're ruining the game by trying to make by the concessions that you have to make to run on this hardware to basically run on a cell phone, not even an up to date cell phone. Not even a current cell phone, an older cell phone. They're just too great. So stream it. But if you could make this a part of your platform, then I think there's a place here, and I'm going to kind of throw this out here because I actually think this is smart. I think it's a good idea on my half. Just like the Switch unified Nintendo across portable and console markets, I think a cloud solution like this, if they could host their entire environment like that, could actually unify Nintendo customers across hardware and the cloud. And I think you could have a situation where, like, hey, you buy the new Switch and it can run these games. It can run Doom Eternal locally. Hey, you've got the old Switch. You don't have to upgrade. You can stream it and you can play Doom Eternal on the stream. Hey, you don't have a Switch. You can download the Nintendo app on your phone and you can buy Control for $40 and you can play that way with a controller. But it's all tied to the same account. It's all the same store. I think there's a place there where I think that's possible. Do I think Nintendo's going to do it? Hell no.
No.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
But I do think it's possible. And I wouldn't be surprised if they are testing the market with this. If this is kind of like they're dipping their toe. Like, does this work? Does this work for us? Does this work for our customers? Do our customers actually want this? And I like, especially if they're going to keep iterating on the same hardware, like if they're going to go the Apple route and the Switch is just what Nintendo does now, I actually think a solution like this is necessary, because at some point you're going to have to leave people behind. But as long as you have a solution like this, you don't. You can always kind of have them there. And it's also kind of like every step they take towards that is a step they're taking towards their own future. Like what I have often said on this show and the other shows I'm on, inevitable. It's inevitable that we're going to get to cloud streaming at some point. It's just, there's so many benefits to the provider. It's not benefits for us. There's so many benefits to the provider for streaming.
I think a lot of benefits to us as well, especially we could just keep our old hardware.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're like, okay, you're not going to pay whatever amount of money for the next model, you could just, do this cloud version. And if you think it's fine, well, there you go. I agree with Donnie in a sense of like the impression from Control, the enhanced performance mode. That's probably the best cloud version type of thing I've ever played.
I played the visuals version. It has ray tracing.
It didn't really show on my monitor that much. I
didn't recognize it either. I saw a YouTube video that pointed it out to me, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah, and the frame
ray tracing and Control on Switch. I didn't realize it, but sure.
Yeah, you wouldn't see on my 1080p monitor, but like I think they were shooting for 720p 60 frames on the performance mode, and I'm like, this feels, I dare I say, it's like on par with the Xbox One, because the Xbox One is a 30 frames per second, game version. It's like, well, and with motion blur too, it looks fantastic. So I think this is totally a viable option for people that don't have consoles or they have a low grade PC and just have the Switch, it's like this is a totally good way to play this game.
And my business model, I just saw Chase here, and I just wanted to make sure that I was real clear on this. The reason that I think it works for Nintendo where it currently doesn't work for Google is Nintendo is not pushing the cloud as the only primary way to play. That's the alternative way to play. You can play it natively if you buy the hardware that can do so. So it's kind of like a Nintendo could sit in the middle here and kind of have their cake and eat it too. And I think they could push mobile in a way that they've never pushed mobile before if they had a cloud app. It's like, hey, you can log in here. It's the eShop. It's your Nintendo account, and you can buy games from us that you can play on your phone for $40 a piece. That's exactly where Nintendo wants to be. They don't want to do a subscription. They don't want to do an a la carte. That's not where they want to be. Their value is their software. But here's the thing. Their software is valuable enough that people would buy them. People would totally download a Nintendo app and buy Super Mario Bros. U and stream it on their phone for $60. How crazy is that to say? But we know that's true. We know that they exactly
crazy
would
Nintendo
do that.
People.
They would exactly do that. And if you bought a Switch, then you could just download it and keep playing it because it's all the account. And I think that's the important part to note with this beta is that it's integrated into the eShop. It is your account. You're buying a cloud version, but you're buying the game. So it doesn't have to be the cloud version. Like it could be a download version if the console could run it. But they can't. So right now it's just a cloud version.
Yeah.
I think it's going to gear towards more of the AAA games or third-party AAA games that you cannot just play on the console. I'm not sure about this alternative model so that with the app, I just feel like Nintendo is not going to invest into mobile that much. You see the Nintendo app now, and it's like just a barren landscape. Like no one uses voice chat. No one like I could see a future with cloud gaming with the phone, but like if that's the case, I would rather just play on my Switch handheld.
Of course, but how many people don't? See, that's the point of the cloud. It's not that we would always rather play locally. I mean, that's what we are. The Ks, the Ps, the flops. You'll never have that performance better than you have it natively. Like we're always going to be that way. But how many people don't have a Switch? We look at 60 million and we're like, hey, that's a lot of Switches, but that's minuscule. That's minuscule in what could be. And that's the power of cloud. That's the goal of cloud. That's what you're trying to do is you're trying to reach the people that don't want to buy a Switch, but still love Nintendo and love the property.
I feel like people who love the property has a Switch.
Oh, I can 100% guarantee you that there are more than 60 million people that love Mario.
Does that work here in the States? I feel like would be huge in a place like, Japan, where they actually have a good internet infrastructure. Yep. They have great mobile. Here is a totally different story.
It's not yet. But, we were talking about the Switch programmers that were, Nintendo telling folks to have their games 4K ready. Is it possible that the next Switch Pro bends the gap here where they have a 4K capable display and a better Wi-Fi connection built into the Switch, but it's based primarily off of streaming?
I could see. Oh no, not streaming 4K. That's probably. I don't think it's in the cards.
Infrastructure here for internet just doesn't support it, like on a global, on a national scale enough for that to be viable.
Right.
And again, that's why I say, does that work here? I don't think
it doesn't work yet. It does work in some places.
Yeah, it does in some places, in very few places.
Under certain conditions. No, I get that part of it.
And that's why I think that it's just, future, if we finally ever, fix the internet infrastructure here in the States, it definitely would make sense. I don't know how realistic that is anytime soon.
I think it's more realistic than the Switch running 4K games on its own.
I see it, they're contracting with this company, and again, I've never heard of this company, and I was like, okay, well, about this company compared to Microsoft? I imagine Microsoft would have this capability probably shorter, faster. I can imagine like a Microsoft stick or something like that can have I think they'll be the first, or Stadia, they're trying, but like having that 4K capable streaming. Nintendo though, Nintendo fans don't really care about the 4K type of
True.
thing.
And that's why
So,
the solution that they have now is pretty good, because the latency was
yeah,
good. The video
the
quality,
latency's fine.
yeah, the video quality wasn't great, but it's totally fine enough to play. I mean, you were playing Control. It wasn't
Yeah.
like, it didn't look ugly or it didn't look compromised in a way. It just looked like a standard version, of Control, standard def. And you're right, Nintendo folks don't care. A lot of Nintendo folks, they love to say that, right? They bring it up all the time. You find yourself a Nintendo enthusiast, a core Nintendo customer.
Rebecca?
I don't care about 4K. I don't care about all that. Like, that's the Nintendo way. Nintendo has conditioned them to do that. So the streaming is more than good enough for them. Like, they're happy just to be able to play the game.
I do want to mention that it's going to be, we've had good experiences with the streaming with the cloud version with Control. I saw one person in the Discord, Tom Servo, I think, he did not have a great time with the cloud version with Switch. So again, it's always depending on your internet infrastructure, how close you are with your antenna.
That's the part that I hate about it.
And the location of the US and all that. So just be caution when leaping forward, buying these cloud version of games. Test it out. They're there to test it out. Yeah. Yes, for sure.
The demo,
this is why I'm not even looking forward to trying it, because for some reason, with the way my internet is, I don't know what it is. Like Luna couldn't play it. It was just way too laggy.
Didn't you work with Stadia though? Didn't Stadia work?
Stadia worked better, but it worked in the browser. Like, I never actually used, there was no app or anything on PC for it. So in the browser, it worked fine. Luna is actually a program itself. It doesn't play in the browser, unless you have an iFail device, which I don't own, so I couldn't play it that way. I could only play it on my PC. And it was just super laggy. And I imagine that if I use Control, it'll probably be similar, unless I'm right.
I will admit, doing finite controls, aiming down the sights, didn't feel like a good experience either. I would never.
That would drive me insane.
I would never want to play Call of Duty that way. It wasn't like latency just didn't feel 1-to-1. You feel like you're overcorrecting. I go left, I go too far left. I try to correct, you go too far right.
Oh yeah, no. See,
that precision felt like it was lost.
No, I couldn't handle it. Especially after playing Control on PC, then try to do that, it would make me want to throw my Switch probably. And my kids would hate me if I did that, because they love playing their Switch. That's their console.
It's okay, because Switch people, they don't care much about that precise accuracy.
No. But here's the thing also, Switch people don't care much about Control either.
That's
also
true.
So then does it even matter?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the case I think it's really odd that Control and Hitman hit. Whereas we know that Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Resident Evil 7 are playable. Why not lead with those first? Those would have made more sense.
Is it trying to draw in that audience? Is that their thing? They're trying to draw in the audience.
You're trying to draw in a
typically
core audience. Still, my point still rings true. Odyssey and Resident Evil 7 make more sense than Hitman 3 and Control.
Odyssey makes so much sense on a Nintendo fan base.
Yep, Resident Evil.
That's what I'm saying.
Nintendo has a history with Resident Evil.
Yeah.
This is the first Hitman game ever to hit Switch, and it's Hitman 3.
That was the weird thing. Yeah.
Where Nintendo has a long connection and history with Capcom and Resident Evil. It's not just a PlayStation franchise. It launched with GameCube. It's been on 3DS.
Are they trying to draw in a different audience with these games? The people are going to be there regardless if you do this or not.
Sure.
Are they trying to draw in somebody who typically may not play a Switch by saying, hey...
I don't think anybody's going to buy a Switch because it has a cloud version of Control.
I'm saying you're on the fence. You're
you're right.
I don't want to get a Switch. Maybe I will. Oh, wait, I can play Control.
But the person that cares about those things, they already have another console to play those things on.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So this may, get them to actually jump online and get a Switch for portable, for on the go, and then be able to play those games. So I'm wondering if this is a play at trying to get people who are on the fence, who already have another console, to go ahead and get the Switch.
I personally still think Assassin's Creed does more for that argument than these two games.
Than Hitman.
It's just a bigger game. It's just a much, much bigger franchise with much more global appeal.
Yeah, different. I'm just thinking of it as just a different game.
Sure.
A different, like shooters. You don't
They're newer games. I think, for you, they're newer. These are newer games than those. Those games have been out for several years at this point. But it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. I'm happy to see it. I hope we see more of it. I hope we see a lot more of it. But I think it's going to be amazing, Garrett. I will go ahead and make this prediction. when we hear the Doom Eternal cloud version announced.
Oh, instead of the Switch Pro exclusive base native on the Pro version, and then the cloud version.
I'm gonna eat my words when I see it, but I don't see how Doom Eternal runs on a Switch. I just don't see it.
I do. Doom Eternal is
going to look
the
like Minecraft.
Most highly optimized games out there. Like, it runs just extremely well on everything. So I wouldn't be at all surprised.
But those things that it runs extremely well on are so far more superior than Switch hardware.
I just think they're good at optimizing for hardware. So I think that they'll find a way to actually make it run on the Switch, especially if it's streaming.
They're going to have, well, no. If it's streaming, absolutely. But they announced Doom Eternal native for Switch. And if that's still the case, they're going to have to cut the absolute hell out of it.
Just turn it into the original Doom.
Because Doom Eternal is, like, that's the thing I've been trying to say on Shaq for months. Doom Eternal is so much more than Doom 2016 was in design, like CPU intensive, not just graphics. Forget about the graphics. You can tone down the graphics, and they're going to have to. They're going to have to bring this thing down to 540p to get a chance of running. But the geometry, the environment, the enemies, the speed at which they behave and maneuver, the way that they have processes, the verticality of the environments, the platforming, it's so much grander. It's like on a whole separate level than what they've done. And I hope they pull it off. I really do. I'd love to tell everybody I was completely wrong.
Doom Eternal Classic.
But yeah,
classic.
Doom Eternal
Classic.
Doom Eternal Demastered.
Demastered, that's the one I was thinking
of. Fun times. Yeah, we'll see if it happens. All right, so let's get into this final discussion piece. Ray tracing. Is it the real deal? Are we still a ways off? Is it really going to be a thing on the consoles, or is it just kind of a gimmick right now? We've seen a lot of stuff. We've seen a lot of stuff on ray tracing. NVIDIA has been pushing it since their last iteration of consoles as being like the next big thing in gaming. The 20 series kind of got you there. You still can't play like at ultra, like it's really a 30 frames per second thing. We've seen them make great strides with DLSS and being able to implement ray tracing and not sacrifice so much performance. And now we're getting ray tracing on the consoles. But every ray tracing mode we've seen has also been at 30 frames per second, which leads you to believe that it's still not quite there. It is something that takes a huge performance hit when we're looking at these consoles to actually be like the performance bump. So, is it worth the trade-off? Have the rasterized lighting, the old lighting techniques that we've had, the possibility of this Lumens engine with Unreal 5 around the corner. Do we need ray tracing? Is it really the thing that's going to propel gaming into the future? Is it something that's still just kind of a gimmick, or is it here to stay?
I love the way I love that you set up the thing as if it's a gimmick. I definitely don't think it's a gimmick. Ray tracing is real, and we do need it in the sense that ray tracing offers an automatic light and sound adaptations, not just light. It could be sound. And for audio purposes, it's great. The promise of ray tracing is that you no longer have to manually create light and manipulate it through an environment. That you could just turn it on, right? You can implement it in your engine, turn it on, and it will automatically adapt to the geometry and everything you put in. Saves time. So that's the thing. Everybody's got to quit looking at how shiny it is and think about what its purpose is, to cut development cost. That's the purpose of ray tracing. That's why it's important. The problem is, and I think we saw this, we've seen several examples of this, we've seen it proven over and over again, is the performance cost that it takes to do so. We're not to a point yet. Hang on a second. I'm going to let this ambulance go by so my dog stops howling.
Gotcha.
Really hear him in the background.
Not me. Because, I can talk fast, but I can't talk over that. That's too much. 1 hour, 39 minutes.
Wow.
Hey, you got a timestamp so you can get that stuff out of there.
I'll just scrub it out real
quick. He's professional. Sorry,
folks that are in the chat. We're just going to wait for the ambulance to go by so my band of dogs shut the hell up.
Where's Kirby? He's the only one I care about.
He's the bomb. KirbyIsTheBomb.com. Jeez. You did it. You scared the ambulance away. Stop. Okay. Yeah, so it's the performance cost. The performance cost of pulling off this technique is great at the moment, to the point where the 2060 and the 2080 and the 2080 Ti still can't run ray tracing at really 30 frames a second or higher. And that's important because Digital Foundry and several other tech analysts kind of benchmark our current batch of consoles in that ballpark. The PS5's GPU is really getting put as 2060-ish in realm, and the Xbox's GPU is being put in 2080-ish realm. And so if you're trying to carry that benchmark over from PC, then you have to suspect that maybe these GPUs cannot pull off ray tracing at any higher level. And then you look at the new console or the new graphics cards, or just look at PC in general. First and foremost, there ain't a whole lot of ray tracing examples out there. It's a small batch of games that even implement ray tracing.
Yeah, very small right now. Yes.
And then the ones that do it mainly do it at 30 frames per second, with the exception of DLSS. If you can upscale it, then you can render the game at a much lower setting and you can implement better ray tracing and then scale it up. That seems to be the way to do it. And that's interesting because you do see some examples where the video looks better after this DLSS tech. But how applicable is that to every developer? How much is every developer going to adopt that style of development and doing that for all of their games? And how applicable is that across consoles and across PCs and all the different specs that they have to support versus what they already have? And I only looked to the Xbox Hot Chips presentation where they said a lot of developers aren't sold on ray tracing, that they don't see the performance costs beating what they're already doing. We see some really good lighting systems in games already without ray tracing. And I just wonder, because it's like I believe in ray tracing. I've seen examples of it where I think it's good. Do I think it's blow me away? I've never seen a game look this good. No, I've never seen that. I've never seen ray tracing to the level where I'm like, I couldn't live without it. It's so much better. And that's why I make jokes in our Discord, but it's mostly meant in truth. Like, I'm more excited for Dolby Vision than I am for ray tracing, because Dolby Vision, to me, in the example that I've seen it in, turned on a game, made the game look different. Like, this is a whole different way to play the game. Like, this is I don't want to say like next gen, but yeah, this is better. This is better than what we currently have. Ray tracing is shinier, but if you're moving quickly, like if you're driving through an environment or swinging through an environment, I don't think how many people are going to notice ray tracing. I watched the ray tracing demo with Watch Dogs, and like, you have to like really pay attention to what it is. You have to be looking at the windows to see the reflection off the apartment building. And in most cases, you're
windows,
not.
The wet ground.
Yeah,
Like
most of the times you're not. You're focused on the character.
Water. Yeah.
You got to look for it. So for me, is it worth the trade-off? No. I am never going to trade 4K 60 for ray tracing, ever. The only time that I will ever do it is in a slower pace game. I bought Observer Redux for next gen, and it has ray tracing. That's a slow little, walking narrative horror game. I want ray tracing with that because the atmosphere is going to be cool. That's the reason why I bought it. I want to see it. I'm not going to trade 60 frames in a game that I'm actually, doing intensive combat in, like Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty, for ray tracing. I just don't see the trade-off being worth it. I'm glad that we have the option, though, because some people, they just want to see things as pretty as possible. And I really like ray tracing, but I also want to say that sometimes I think it can be overdone. It can like too shiny at times. It's like, if you've seen, I saw some Battlefield.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, oh.
It just looks like everything's just soaked in rain. It's like, what is happening?
Yeah. I mean, if you do it right, the reflections that you get in windows, the reflections you get in the ground and the puddles, when there's water on the floor, it looks really, really nice. But again, like you said, when in motion, you're not really going to be noticing that. If I'm in the middle of a fight, am I going to notice my reflection in the dude's visor? No.
We make fun of gamers all the time about not turning on game mode, can't tell the difference between 1080p and 4K. Do you think anybody can actually tell the difference between ray tracing? Like, I only present that Watch Dogs demo. You give that to your normal standard person that doesn't know what DLSS or ray tracing is, and you tell them to spot the difference, and I would be surprised if they could.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I wonder if the games are gonna like when you first start them up, is it gonna you're gonna have to go into the settings and turn on performance mode, or is it automatically gonna be
There's
in
gonna be a
the
default mode.
30? And I'm wondering how many people are just not even gonna bother. They're not even gonna notice it. They're just
Hmm.
gonna be playing the ray trace version and it's gonna look great. Like I'm just wondering if people will ever even really go into the options and be like, nah, man, turn up performance mode outside of like us, you know?
Yeah,
I've
the
painted it out in
PC
our
players.
Discord quite a bit, but for the listeners of Game Tech that maybe didn't follow, Digital Foundry has a whole breakdown on the ray tracing effect that they put into Spider-Man the remaster.
Hmm.
And I would suggest you go read the article. Don't go watch the video. Go read the article because there's a very detailed look at the basically the rendering budget that they have to implement ray tracing.
Hmm.
It's
Mhm.
not a power issue. And I think that's the disconnect between I see a lot of ray tracing like console wars. There's a lot of ray tracing tweets being thrown at each other on Twitter. Go
Mhm.
read that article because it's not about power. It's not about the GPU. Like the GPU is capable of doing ray tracing. It's how fast you have to render a scene to keep a steady 30 frames per second. And then when you add ray tracing to that, how much of that budget goes out the window? And that's why
Hmm.
in that game we see the ray tracing, the reflections we have, the reflections are like 900p
Hmm.
and they're missing detail and like it's just really really cut back, and the problem is they can't render it fast enough. It's
Hmm.
like we're a generation away, and I think we're still a generation away with the 3080, with the exception that yeah, you can downscale the game and then put it in there and then upscale it back up. But
Hmm.
are we how far away from are we from a native 4K 60 ray tracing on a modern AAA game? We're a long way away. I think we're further than the 3080 away.
So I saw a
I
Digital
got
Foundry video comparing the 2080 Ti and the 3080 ray tracing in-depth analysis. Now, again, they're optimizing settings in PC games and they're doing everything they can to get to this point. But they have done in some games like Metro Exodus, where they do ultra high settings, native 4K, slightly over 60 frames per second on higher. And then there's different tiers of ray tracing too, right?
And
There's
that I was
high
going to say
ray
that was
tracing.
my next thing is then what's the equivalent of the ray tracing? Is it a full
Right.
fidelity
Hmm.
4K implementation, or is it just on some puddles at a lower quality? Because yeah, and that was the point I made with Dev. I think about a month ago we were talking about this. I think we will have examples of ray tracing. I think we
Yes.
will see examples of ray tracing in certain scenes and certain cutscenes, maybe in a certain specific environment. But from a full implementation, a 4K automatic, we
Hmm.
used ray tracing as our lighting and sound engine. I just think we're a lot further away than people are wanting to say. And I think it's been exacerbated
Yeah,
by these companies' marketing, because this is a
yeah.
thing that they keep
that's
saying,
true.
right? Ray tracing, ray tracing, ray tracing. And I feel like it's a little further off than people are expecting.
I
At least a
can't wait
generation away, yeah,
the
for
breakdown
consoles.
of Miles Morales, like the full breakdown of DF from Miles Morales, because some of the stuff that I've seen in that game, like the reflections in that one, look so much better than they look in the original Spider-Man. Like the trailer we saw with the original Spider-Man with the super low res, the stuff in Miles Morales, like there's a scene where he walks into the bodega, and the reflection on the door is just it's immaculate. It
Hmm.
is ridiculous. And then also like this latest video they
And I
put
think
out for the
those
Miles
set
Morales
pieces are
with the
where
suit.
those set pieces are the moments where they're trying to make a demonstration of it, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I just can't wait. And like the one they put out recently for the suit from Spider Verse, when he hops on the perch, and this is like fully in game, like you can see the reflection of him in one of the glass panes, and it just looks really good. I was like shocked, but again, I had to look for that. Like that's stuff you have to look for that you wouldn't normally notice if
Hmm.
you're just playing. I was just looking for it, like just to see, and I paused the video to look and like check all that stuff out, but in your general just gameplay, you're not really gonna notice it at all. I don't think. I just
Yep,
it'll be great for photo mode. Like we're gonna see some absolutely stunning
it's gonna be the
gametography.
best.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the gametography is going to be incredible.
You might be right. Actually, that
But
might be
from
the biggest application might be photo mode.
It's photo mode,
oh
yeah.
yeah, absolutely, the gametography with ray tracing turned on is going to be phenomenal. Um, but from just a standard gameplay, like you don't want to sacrifice that performance when you can have a great performing game at a
Hmm.
full 60 frames per second. You're not going to notice that the ground is a little less like reflective when it's wet. You're not going to notice that your reflection in the window as you zoom by it wasn't immaculate. Like you're not going to notice a lot of that stuff. Some of the slower pace walking sim stuff like that. I think that'll be
indie
a great
games,
showcase
cartoon games.
Yeah,
I think we're going to see a lot of. That's where I think we'll see the majority of this type of implementation go.
Give me Streets of Rage with ray tracing. Oh,
nice!
All the neon.
Have you seen Minecraft ray tracing? Yeah. Like it looks really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it's just,
and I think we'll see. Even in that implementation, I believe the last time I checked the benchmarks in that one, they had to run it at like 1440p to get to like 50 frames a second. They still couldn't get to 60.
Yeah, they were.
And that's Minecraft.
Yeah, and they actually did it with the 3080 ray tracing comparison with the 2080 Ti, and they got it up above 60 frames for that too. So again, yes, set examples. I'm excited for developers to get their hands on ray tracing, get their feet wet with it. It's only going to get better with the Unreal Engine. Is it 4 now? Is it 5? Is that the 5? 5 is the next one. Yeah. I hope.
And whatever AMD's thing is, because we still don't know what their actual machine,
and these are AMD based
onboard ray tracing.
Yeah, so that's going to matter more than what NVIDIA's doing anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're really just in the beginning of this. Like that's the other thing. Ray tracing has been around for a couple of years, but not really, Yep. So we're really at the beginning stages of what it can do, especially on console with AMD's first real go at it. And a lot of people think that NVIDIA, created ray tracing. No, it's just a mathematical equation. Mm-hmm. That's all it is.
Basically,
can your GPU do the math? That's really what it boils down to. So it'll be interesting to see a lot of the breakdowns, and once the developers really start to wrap their tool set around being able to have ray tracing in games, what it actually looks like in year 3 of the console.
Yeah, and maybe we crack that DLSS code, or somebody comes up with some sort of efficiency thing that kind of makes it more attainable. That's why I think there's a reason to suggest that I might be slightly more excited for the Lumen Tech. The fact that when they demonstrated that, they talked about how it's like a toggle, and it's a plugin that you just add into your game code, and now you have refracting, light demos, and they showed it throughout the game, and they have everything react to the light and everything that you're pushing off. I mean, it's basically doing the same thing without the cost.
Yeah, it'll be real interesting to see what that looks like when they fully realize Unreal 5 and
Unreal
in that demo
already has such a big footprint in development. So many people already use the engine. How many developers are going to be like, nah, we're gonna sit here and work on this ray tracing thing, when Lumen, it's like you could just press the button.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get them working both in tangent, and it'll be even better. The ray tracing will be ray traced.
You're going to bounce 30 times. Yes. There's going to be like 4 or 5 dimensions in there.
Oh, man. Good stuff. Gentlemen, we are only days away from next year. I'm super excited. I can't wait to see all of you guys' coverage for your stupid Xbox. I will be day 1 on the PS5. I'm going to maybe do an unboxing video. Maybe even set up all the consoles next week, because I have everything from the original PS1 all the way to the PS5. So I'll probably set them all side by side.
That's going to take a big-ass table. You need a big
PS5. No, I'm going to use the PS5 as the table. I'm going to use the PS5 as a table and put the other consoles on top of it.
That makes sense. That damn thing is so big. It's so big.
So large.
It's as big as I can't wait to see how big it is in comparison to my Tower of Power here.
I keep seeing it in different perspectives, right? The Verge picture from Tom the other day, I think, was like the first that I'd seen them side by side, and I was like, wow, it's big. Then the other day, I saw a video of somebody I think it was the Digital Foundry unboxing video, where they unbox the PS5, they sit it down next to the Xbox, and it makes the Xbox look tiny because they're kind of standing over it. So instead of it being like the camera's at the bottom and it's looking up at these two consoles and making them both seem big, it's staring down at it from that perspective. Oh my God, the PlayStation looks humongous.
The Tower of Power, baby.
Jeez, it's Godzilla. I mean, it is.
I saw 2 people unboxing struggling. Like, they were literally struggling to get this box out while they were
Lift with the legs, folks. Lift with the legs.
Oh my gosh. I was just one dude just ripped his box apart in order to get this thing out. I was just like, dang.
It is really, really big. I know we've said it over and over and over again, but I think it's worth saying.
You've said it over and over again.
It's massive, man. It's insane.
I mean, screw in that stand, man. It was like, it's crazy.
Wait for all the. So what happens if you don't have the stand? Because people are going to lose the stand.
It comes with the stand,
right? But people are going to lose it. Like used sales and stuff.
Like
people are going to lose.
Shouldn't deserve to have it. Then.
So what?
If you're does it the stand?
If you don't have the stand,
you have to have the stand on.
Does it
you can't
rock?
Stand it up.
Like if you tipped it, does it tip back and forth?
You could stand it up. Like I saw it without the stand. Yeah, it would stand up. It's just I don't know if you want that.
My thing is how do you lose this? It comes in the box. You attach it before you stand it up.
You know better.
If you're gonna lay it down, it can't lay down without the stand.
Better.
It just can't. Oh boy,
you know better.
Those people shouldn't be allowed to procreate or have
people are people, man. People are people. It's gonna happen.
How do you lose the stand?
You're gonna go trade it in a GameStop. They're not gonna keep it together, right? They'll send it off. It'll come back without the stand.
When Jeff Keighley was showing it off, he moved his head.
Like
this console, and then I was like, "Oh my god!"
It's so funny because if you hold it up, it'll block out the sun. Like shade passes over you as you move it. It's like an eclipse.
Oh man!
Oh,
I can't wait to just stand it right here next to my computer, and we'll see how it dwarfs that.
I was going to unbox mine, but at this point, I feel like if you just there's so many unboxings of all of them. It's like you're just throwing a rock at the wave. We all know what it does when it's unboxed now. There's no point.
We heard the button. We heard the click. We've seen it all.
Yeah, we really have.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But it's almost upon us, and I'm super excited. I can't wait. I need some joy, and this console will bring lots of joy.
We got to get through Election Day first.
Oh, don't die.
Yeah, Johnny. There you go, bringing down the room. All right.
It's more bringing down him.
It's because I have to go work at 3 a.m. that day. So, I'm trying to share the misery with as many people as I can. Somebody help me shoulder this.
Well,
do you have a long vacation scheduled afterwards?
We have not been allowed to submit for a vacation day since March.
Oof. That sucks.
Hopefully this new console is some glimpse of light to you. Some excitement.
I'm not allowed to be an hour out of pocket during activation. I can't be further than an hour away from having to report to work.
You don't leave your home anyway, so what difference does it make?
It's perfect for me. It works.
Okay, well that's going to do it for episode 7 of PSVG Game Tech. We hope you learned a little something here. Just enjoy the ride with us, or found some new tech that you want to go look up. And I'd like to give a huge thank you to our patrons at the producer level. Mr. Edwin Callow, Barry Cathcart, Josh the Bone Sauber, Bone, Chris McElfish, myself, Kyle Hammond, Paul Kellycoat, Michael Masick, Nick Fall Harbor, Rob, Emmanuel, Rude Days 93, Ben Moxham, and Grouchy Surge. We just really appreciate your patronage and would love if you aren't already a patron, come on over, check us out. $3 a month gets you all kind of ridiculous extra stuff. You've got Strong Style, you've got Bored with Everything, you've got Books for Geeks, all the wonderful DLC. I believe we had one not too long ago with Rebecca, so you get to know all about her. I don't know who else is in the books. I'm sure Donnie has.
Haley's next. I gotta get to Garrett. I gotta get to Delvin. We still have half the team to get through.
Yeah, so check us out. There's tons of content. I think there are 96 episodes in the DLC vault right now.
Get early access in Decade of Horror.
That too.
Oh yeah, Decade of Horror. Just check it out. This is it. It's the culmination of the Decade of Horror. Today is Halloween. If you're looking for some spooky stuff, check out that podcast. It's got all kind of wonderful recommendations to end the month of horror and set you into the month of Thanksgiving. So yeah.
So Christmas.
And yeah, pretty much. Feel free to follow us over at Game Tech Pod and tune into all things PSVG at psvg.blog and PSVG on Twitter. And with that, may your K's and P's be bright, your frames glorious, and your flops powerful. We're out.